Hey guys, and welcome to today's episode. My name is Chelsea Wise, and I'm so excited for this episode. We are interviewing Jane Goodrich, who is an award winning photographer and founder of Picsello. She is an educator, a loving mother, and is based out of New York. She is a small business and photography industry advocate with a background in marketing. She has run 2 successful photography businesses and has built the photography business brand. Jane is one of the most respected photographers in the industry when it comes to running a successful business. We are talking today all about having an abundance mindset. Jane's latest passion is Picsello. Jane took her knowledge and experience and poured it into Picsello. It is a platform that will empower photographers to easily manage, market, and monetize their business. I'm so excited for you to tune into this episode. We had such a great conversation about having an abundance mindset, steps that you can take when you are just starting out, and getting ready to take that next brave step into starting your business. And I'm so thrilled for you guys to meet her. All right, let's dig into this episode.
Hello, and welcome to the Next Brave Step podcast, the podcast that's all about turning dreams into action. I'm your host, Chelsea Wise. Now, this podcast is more than just something to listen to while you fold laundry. Instead, imagine I'm inviting you to join me in my kitchen, a space for genuine and transformative conversations. Here, with the sunlight streaming through the windows, margaritas and homemade guac on the table, we're ready to dive into stories and strategies that don't just inspire you to think about a better life, but give you the tools, motivation to go out there and make it happen. So pull up a chair, let's talk like old friends, and together we'll navigate the journey from turning dreaming into doing, one brave step at a time. Your adventure towards making your dreams a reality starts right here.
Hey guys, and welcome to today's episode. My name is Chelsea Wise, and I'm so excited for this episode. We are interviewing Jane Goodrich, who is an award winning photographer and founder of Picsello. She is an educator, a loving mother, and is based out of New York. She is a small business and photography industry advocate with a background in marketing. She has run 2 successful photography businesses and has built the photography business brand. Jane is one of the most respected photographers in the industry when it comes to running a successful business. We are talking today all about having an abundance mindset. Jane's latest passion is Picsello. Jane took her knowledge and experience and poured it into Picsello. It is a platform that will empower photographers to easily manage, market, and monetize their business. I'm so excited for you to tune into this episode. We had such a great conversation about having an abundance mindset, steps that you can take when you are just starting out, and getting ready to take that next brave step into starting your business. And I'm so thrilled for you guys to meet her. All right, let's dig into this episode.
Hello, and welcome to the Next Brave Step podcast, the podcast that's all about turning dreams into action. I'm your host, Chelsea Wise. Now, this podcast is more than just something to listen to while you fold laundry. Instead, imagine I'm inviting you to join me in my kitchen, a space for genuine and transformative conversations. Here, with the sunlight streaming through the windows, margaritas and homemade guac on the table, we're ready to dive into stories and strategies that don't just inspire you to think about a better life, but give you the tools, motivation to go out there and make it happen. So pull up a chair, let's talk like old friends, and together we'll navigate the journey from turning dreaming into doing, one brave step at a time. Your adventure towards making your dreams a reality starts right here.
So, welcome, Jane, to the podcast. So excited to have you up here today. First off, could you just kind of introduce yourself to the audience and kind of take us along your journey as a business owner and all the brave steps that you've kind of taken along the way?
Thanks, Chelsea. I appreciate you having me. I have been for the last 14 years a newborn and family photographer. Prior to that, I worked in advertising for a decade. So I've had a couple of different brave steps, you'd say, along my journey. But more recently, I'm the founder of a software platform to help photographers with their businesses. So I think every 10 years I must get an itch to take another step in my career of trying to do something different. But yeah, so, but
Okay.
I still photograph a lot of families and newborns, as well
Okay.
as my software business.
What year did you start the software business?
We started the idea, it was sort of in 2020, but we soft launched in 2022. Software
Okay.
takes a lot longer than you think to build than
Yeah.
I initially had thought. So a
Okay.
lot more money and a lot more time, but it's going really well.
That's definitely a big leap, but I mean, like, I see the parallel to it, but it's did you have a lot of, like, issues, I guess, transitioning from, like, service-based to, like, this product of, like, a totally different industry? And, like, what was, like, your mindset around,
So
like, that shift?
Having been in the industry for a long time, I mentor photographers in pricing and running their business.
Mhm.
I I sort of knew there was a need to really help photographers with pricing and all the back end, the boring part of running a photography business. Let's just be real. And that was happening like 2017, 2018, 2019. And then in the pandemic, I really saw a bigger need. I was still working so much, but I wasn't shooting and I wasn't making any money. And I just thought, there's really got to be a better way, right? So there's got to be a better way that makes it easier to run the back end of your business. I can give somebody all the workflows and all that stuff, but like, I want to be able to run my business on my phone while I'm waiting for my kid at school. Like, I don't want to have to go back to my desktop. And so the idea as I was going through my finances, as I was having to refund a lot of people during the pandemic, was like, I need this, I need this, I need this, I need this. And it just kind of all came together of like, why can't I build something that is something that photographers really need, like not other bits, just what we really need, can help them make more money. Oh, and you can use it on your phone. So that's where Picsello came up. I came up with the idea of Picsello. And I will say, I think you hear a lot about startups and everything and how people go about it. I probably did go a different path because I always like to go a different path, but I had a lot of knowledge of the industry and what we really needed. So I think that that's really helped us a lot and being very clear on our mission. And our mission is to really help photographers make more money and make it easier to run a business. So the clarity that we have there over outweighed the, "Oh, wow, I've gotta learn about how to build a software company." Um, and so that was kind of, that outweighs that. And I think with my background in advertising, I worked on a lot of big brands for Ogilvy. So building a brand and running a photography business, you're like your own little brand in itself. So you have over 20 plus years of doing that. Really, that's the fun part of marketing and all that stuff. But the tech, I'm learning a lot. I'm still learning. I always like to learn, keep learning every day. So,
Yeah, I think
but
being able to have the mindset of, like, always wanting to learn is, like, how you really become successful, because if you ever for me, I guess, if I ever get to a point where, like, I know everything, I feel like that's the day that, like, I quit succeeding and I quit growing, because I think the only way to grow is to, like, look for more things to, like, improve your situation or your knowledge base and all of the things, and I think that's, the sign of a good leader.
well, and it's also even if you have a small business, right? You always want to be learning. As a photographer, I'd still take all those classes. I still, I don't overspend, because but I am still, I don't want to be, I just want to learn, keep learning in every shoot. What can I do better? I'm still picky. I'm like, I'm always going to be picky. What can I keep doing? What can I do better? Who can I learn from? And the same thing with, software is like, how can we make this better? Like nonstop, I just want to make the best product for for my photographers, like at the end of the day. And I don't know everything, right?
Mhm,
So you have to end up hiring the best. And I'm lucky that we have an amazing team and it is them, not me, that have built
mhm,
such a fantastic product. So my hats off
awesome.
to them. They can translate my craziness. They can translate my ideas, and that takes a lot.
Yeah.
So
It definitely helps to surround yourself with the right team to support the vision for sure. So
mhm.
you've been in the photography industry and you're now like walking into the software world. Would you say that it's like I mean, I know for sure, like in the photography industry, there's very much often people being like, it's oversaturated. There's too much competition to really stand out. Do you feel that that's kind of the same in the software world as well? And like, how do you combat that, I guess?
Well, in the photography space, I think everyone needs photographs.
Hmm.
I don't think it's oversaturated. I said that it might be oversaturated in terms of the style or who you are, but at the end of the day, photography is an art, and no two artists are the same. And people will hire you for being you. And that, I mean, don't get me wrong, if you're in a 1,000 um, population town and there's 1,000 photographers, yes, but most of the time we're not saturated. We're saturated with a similar look or someone's doing something the same. So you can slightly shift. Okay, well, maybe there's a fantastic, three fantastic newborn photographers. Are you really going to compete with them? Or are you going to go be the best event photographer? I seriously don't think that there's too many people that need photographs. And the same thing with software. There's so many, well, for example, I don't think that our market has touched anywhere close to what we can bring to photographers to
Hmm.
really help their business. Like, I just think that there's ways that we can really help, for example, on our platform, we plan on like really being like, hey, you're not, we don't see any shoots in October. Would you like to send an email and to your marketing, or how many images are you uploading? We found on our software that if you upload 18, your clients will uh, be more likely buy more. Like, software needs to work for the end user. Like,
Yeah.
it's not just something that you use to help you. It
Hmm.
needs to work for you. And that's the way I think what makes us different is we're not just going to be like, hey, yeah, you can do bookings. Oh, yes, you can do gallery sales. We're going to help you make more money, is what we're going to do.
Yeah. I love that.
But yes, I don't know if that answered your question. I don't think that there's a saturated market. I
Hmm.
think if there was, if it was saturated, we still have a lot of ways to help photographers
Hmm.
and eventually videographers and other people. But right now we're just getting started.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it. Um, so kind of looking through, a lot of your um website and stuff, and you talk a lot about like having an abundance mindset. And why do you feel like this is something that's so crucial for small business owners and especially like those in like the creative field like photography?
Yeah, I think actually it's I mean, I'll use photography as an example because I know it very well. But any small business, so you can actually go into building a business and saying, well, I'm going to price myself X because no one will pay for Y, right? What I like to do is actually have someone run the numbers. You need to make, let's say, $30,000 a year. Let's run your numbers. And how do you get there? But one of the things that we say, what I hear way too often is, no one's going to pay for that, or there's not enough people in my area, or XYZ. And surprisingly enough, like if you're, let's just say I'm a wedding photographer, like there are 2 million weddings a year in the US alone, right? Just look at the sheer number of weddings that you need to do. And so what it does is it ties it together. So if you look at your numbers, the average full-time wedding photographer does around 20 to 27 weddings a year. You don't need that many weddings, right? You
I
can
don't want
get
to shoot
20 to 27.
27.
Right. But I'm just saying is like, but
Hmm.
so if you, but you can get there. But I've had conversations where people haven't done the numbers and they're like, yeah, I've put my numbers in at, I can shoot 100 weddings. Because when you're new, you don't realize that each wedding is going to take you 60 hours, running your business and editing and all that stuff. Yes, you can outsource it, but, and same thing with family photography. Everyone's like, I'm so saturated in my area, et cetera, et cetera. Well, just look at the local schools in your area. Like, okay, my school in, 2-mile radius, there's 4 elementary schools with, 1,500 families. I don't need 1,500 families. And that's within a 2-mile. If you expand it to maybe 20 miles, I mean, I've had people drive 2.5 hours for me, and I'm not the best photographer in the world, right? So if you expand it to be like, actually, I really only need 60 newborns a year to make a living. That's a lot. That's not a lot. That's
Mhm.
1 a week. And there's so many babies being born, so many families in your area. So that switching the mindset helps you realize that I can charge this and gives you a lot more confidence. And I like to kind of play a game of like, who is my ideal client? And so you go back and you look at your favorite clients and you sort of put an ideal client together of who it is. And then you name that person, say she's 32 and the most popular name is Chelsea at that age. So you name her, you put her on, and then watch how many Chelseas come and inquire. It's kind of crazy. There's a way to look at the abundance in the world versus the scarcity, because what happens with the scarcity mindset is you think you can't control it. You think every no is a price sensitive thing, and it's really not. Like, just go get the clients, go get the inquiries up, and you will be shocked at the energy that you're putting out there into the universe of, yeah, I'm going to get those 90 families a year.
I love that.
But yeah, that's just me.
To piggyback on that, so in, I would say, like, 2016, I got really clear on who my, like, ideal client was as a wedding photographer, and it was
Hmm.
a bride who was in the medical field of some sort. She drove a white, SUV, and, um, her mom's name was Nancy. It was something along those lines. I had 4
Her
brides that
mom's name. I love the fact that you did the mom's name.
there was 4 brides that year
Yeah.
that hit all of those. The mom's name was Nancy on all 4 of them. It was crazy.
I think it's such a hidden, um, once you become extremely clear on who your client, your ideal client is, they will come to you. I
Mhm.
think I think I'd named mine Jessica. She was like 32. She was a working mom. And it ties in with like she's a working mom. So she wants the time that she's with her kids to be special. Not that a stay-at-home mom doesn't, but you have that working mom guilt, right? So
Mhm.
putting that out there, and then it helped my messaging talking about the hardest part is going to be getting your kids dressed that day. I'm going to help, we're going to have fun. Your kid's going to ask for me. So it helps all your messaging. I had 7 Jessicas in a row that year.
That's
It's
crazy.
crazy.
Yeah.
And they were also all amazing.
Mhm.
One wasn't a working mom, so that kind of threw me. But yeah, I like the medical profession. Were they all in medical too?
Yeah, so I had a nurse, the physical therapist, an occupational therapist, and a dental hygienist. So, but yeah, it was it was crazy how it all lined up.
Question: did you actually put it on your desk? Did you
Um,
put it on your desk? How did you visualize it?
yeah, so it was really just like I had written it out and I think I reviewed it. It was just on like a Google Docs and I reviewed it like once a month at any time that I went to write any type of like
Yeah,
marketing blog posts. Because for me, like
yeah,
blogging has been like the driving force behind most of my marketing because I don't have the um consistency on social media, but I love tapping into like that SEO stuff and letting
me
it
neither.
work like long term. So anytime I
Yeah,
went to like write any of
yeah,
those
I,
blog posts and stuff, it was reviewing that um kind of ideal client
yeah.
sheet.
I had it stuck up right by my I just would stick it on a sticky note right by my desk on my computer, and I was Jessica, and everything I did touch was for her. And
Hmm.
so it's similar to actually what I do now for Picsello. I have we have an ideal client. Not that anyone isn't, but like we definitely have, I personally think, the best photographers on our platform. But I think it's pretty much because our messaging pretty much speaks to them. And that's, I think, any business, you have to really, can't be everything for everybody. You have to be something for somebody.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. And I think I've had a lot of conversations with other photographers and other business owners who are nervous to really be very detailed in who that ideal client is. And like, you have to remind them, like, just because you are like creating this person doesn't mean you won't sell outside of that. You're not going to book someone
right.
outside of that. It's just that
Yeah.
you're going to focus your efforts on attracting this person and they're going to bring other people along with them. But it like
Yeah.
creating that ideal client avatar doesn't mean you won't sell to someone else. It just
No,
focuses
it
your
doesn't.
efforts.
Well, I think it also just makes your messaging consistent, right? So you are speaking to that one person versus, you know, prior to doing an ideal client, it's like, oh, should I be just speaking to twin moms because I'm a mom of twin? I mean, because I'm a twin. Like I'm an identical twin and I love photographing twins and I became known as the twin photographer and but what happens if I do an ideal client and it doesn't say twins in it? And they still came. They still came.
Hmm.
Like it's
Oh,
just you
that's
have to
awesome.
be really, you know, it just helps consistency,
Hmm.
with your brand messaging. But you'll
Yeah.
get more than other the ideal client. You'll just get more of your ideal client.
Yeah, I love that. So do you have any other tips or advice that you would give to business owners who are, making that transition or making a pivot or taking that next brave step forward in their business and like feeling afraid that you know, there's not really enough space for me in whatever this new adventure is. And we talked a little bit about having that abundance mindset. What advice would you give to someone who's like just ready to take that next step forward, but like that fear is kind of like holding them back?
Yeah, fears. Well, one, you're always going to have some sort of element of fear, regardless of whether you actually take it or not, right? Take the step. You're always going to be like, oh, did I make the right decision? Um, so my advice is, thinking if you're going from a full-time job and you want to pursue your business, full-time, basically give yourself a little bit of breathing room, right? Rome wasn't built in a day and neither is your business. So if you're like, hey, I'm just going to rip the band-aid off and start my photography business from scratch and, it's not going to happen, right? So you actually have to invest in your business. So one thing that I like, it depends on where you are in, the journey of doing that. I think I personally ripped the Band-Aid off a little bit too quickly, hastily, because it took me a little longer to build up. And this was in 2010. But I also had a safety net of, 6 months of income that I'd saved up in order to be able to like reinvest in the business. And I was able to, at that time stay with my sister and save rent. So the idea of just going full time into your business and giving up a day job, just really look at what you're giving up. I'm not saying it's not doable, but it is really good to have a little bit of the safety net of your paycheck while you're building your business, while you're building your SEO. SEO takes time
Hmm.
and, brand awareness takes time. It's the old school like marketing where you are in your product life cycle. You're building the awareness. Sometimes awareness takes Google ads, sometimes it takes hiring somebody to help you with your social media. When you have a job, that's much easier to stomach than it is when you don't have a job. So you kind of have to think of it as a little bit of a long-term play. If you're in a situation where you're laid off and you're like, I either go get a job now or I, start my business. I mean, I just had a baby. I don't want to go back to work. Go for it. Because, why not? But if you have the backup of another job, I do like to say that for a year or two, it's good to have the income. But if you're in a situation not, go for it. Try to think of this as a business and not a job. Try to, the one thing that a lot of people I speak to get into it thinking, oh, I can just charge X because I'm making this per hour. Like photography is one of the businesses where you do not see how much work photographers do behind the scenes. It is
Mhm.
very time intensive. So for every 1 hour photo shoot, there's between 9 and 12 hours of back end work. That's not just editing, that's doing your social media, responding to clients, building your website, marketing, going. So I recommend if you're a photographer, really looking at your numbers to be able to afford it. Start your business right. Start your business off where you actually are going to make money and not in 3 years go, I haven't made any money. And my clients aren't sticking with me because I got the cheapo ones and
Mhm.
they're going to just go to the next person. And so, but I think you have to really, the one thing there's a lot of things that I'd recommend, but I would recommend if you can, if you're in America, I don't know if you have other listeners around the world, but there are, like Small Business Association. There are SCORE. SCORE's a mentor program that the small business offers for free. Or try and join the local chamber. You'll find the one thing that you want to do is really find in person friends as well as your community online. But it can be very lonely. Starting a business can be extremely lonely. And I found like one of my best friends now, she has a music studio for kids in my town, and we've become best friends. And guess what? She lets me have her stuff out there, and I recommend her stuff. It's a symbiotic relationship. You're going to end up making business besties. And so the quicker that you can make business besties that target your ideal client, the better. I don't know if that answered your question, Chelsea. Sort of went off
I
on a
think I
sidebar.
did. No, I think it was good. So I the for the last year was the economic development director for our city and recently left that position so that I could kind of focus full time on this job. And I did not realize before doing that just how many opportunities there are for networking and education for small businesses. And I think sometimes photographers will not treat themselves as like a legit business and think that like going to meet with an economic development like department for your city is like too big of a thing, but it's really not. And it is so there's so many resources that are out there and marketing or networking opportunities and to like you said build those symbiotic relationships. So I just want to like kind of, you know,
Yeah.
echo what you said and like definitely go out there and um meet people in person and find out what local chambers or associations that you can go to. A lot of them will meet during like lunch hours during the week. So even if you are working like a 9 to 5 at the same time, generally you can do that, like, over your lunch hour, and it's really great to
Yeah.
kinda
And
meet people in your community.
yeah. And I think like even the score mentors that can like give you advice on finding the right even accountant for your type of business, but they want you to succeed, right?
Mhm,
And it's free advice too. I mean, chambers might be a little bit of money, but it also is a great way to sort of network. And I always hate, I don't know why, I have sort of a aversion to the word networking because
mm,
I'm like an extroverted introvert. I just rather, I think a lot of people, even though we just don't like the word, but it doesn't have to be that way. It's like, I'm going to go make business friends. That's how I
mhm,
like to term it. It's like, I'm going to make business friends. And they, one of the things that I really like about it is kind of having a little bit of a commiseration about client horror stories. And, like some of the crazy things that people ask other businesses. So you're like, okay, it's not just me that people are doing this to. It's just like people are crazy. So,
mhm,
especially if you haven't worked in client service before, you might get a little bit of a shock. Um, but it's also things to like look out for, like partnerships. Like I love what we were talking a little bit about blogging is like, how can you help? I like to go into the relationship of like, how can I help them? Right.
mhm,
And then it will end up, could be they can help me, might not be, but I like to think of how can I help them and my clients? So I can put a blog post of like the best music places to take your children to, or like about this groove music studio. And then I can share it with her via email. And I don't even have to meet her, right? If I've taken my kid to this place, I don't even have to meet her. I can email it to her and be like, hey, I just want to let you know you made my list, and share it via social, and then start the relationship that way. One, it's helping my SEO because she's probably going to share it with her email list, and then she's also going to do the same on social. It's a win-win all around, and they're just low-hanging fruit. And it makes you feel good because you're supporting a small business at the same time.
I did something very similar to that. I went in and interviewed some of the newer businesses that were coming in to like feature on my blog. So there was like a new coffee shop that was opening in town, which was a big deal because we didn't have a coffee shop in our 2,000 person town, right? And so I had interviewed her, and like I end up having like client meetings there all the time, and that's like the spot that I'll meet my engagement session. People will be like, okay, we'll meet at Red Moose and all of
Yeah.
the things. But like my website, because I'd done it like when they first opened, is the one that will come up if you Google them because the SEO was on it, which
Well,
is
because
kind
your
of
SEO
funny.
is really good.
Yeah. So it's kind of funny how that can work out. But yeah, I think it was all good. It was in like you said that you don't even have to meet with them. But if you do want to meet with someone, you can use
Yeah,
your thing there.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, I think when I first started, I was doing a lot of different networking and having my images up at different places. I did one time, I spent so much money on this sweet store in town with all these frame images that I did shoots for. All I got was requests for donations from other people that would go in that shop. So you try it, right? But like sometimes you don't know at what point something's going to work or it's not going to work. Whereas like I do calendars, local calendars with local kids, and post office where everybody goes, they have them right by their their thing. And that for some random reason, putting calendars, it doesn't cost me much. I have 3 calendars per year. I get me clients. Oh, I saw your calendar. I saw your work, or I saw so and so on there. And, who would have thunk versus gorgeous artwork in a candy store? You never know. You have to keep
Yeah.
trying.
It's crazy like
So that's
what
why it
things
is a
will
bit of an investment.
yeah. It's crazy to see what things will stick and what things won't in business.
Yeah. And it might not be every area is the same. So you just have to keep trying.
Blog as like a, hey, I'd love to interview you to like feature you on the blog. And
Yeah.
that's like a good way to like get to know people in their business a little bit and then decide if you really want to be friends or not, or if like it's just going to be a good marketing.
Fit.
hmm I love
So,
that. All right. So we have one last question for you. And this is a question that I have asked all of my interviewees. And that is so if you don't know, I am like a huge plant person. Like I have a huge cut flower garden and like I love plants. Case in point, my huge fiddle leaf fig here. Um, but the question I ask everyone is if you were a plant, what plant would you be and why? It's kind of a fun, weird little question, but
I love the question. I love fun and weird. I have to think about the I've become obsessed with wildflowers lately. And I will say the reason why I love wildflowers, and this is I would be a wildflower, is what someone deems as a weed, somebody else can deem as a flower. And so there's actually, some my husband and I we argue about like, well, I was like, I think that's a flower. And he's like, it's a weed. I was like, I think it's beautiful. So I just think that if, I could be a weed to somebody, I could be a flower to someone. So I'm a wildflower. So
yeah,
that's what I would be. Is a
I love
flower a
that.
plant?
Yeah,
Is a
yeah,
flower? Yeah,
yep,
right?
it is.
Okay,
No, I
good.
would say that's a really good answer, and I'd say it also, like, wildflowers are so adaptable to grow in, like, so many different types of environments and, like,
Exactly.
thrive in the cracks, and I love it.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Alright, well, thank you so much, Jane, for coming on and being a guest on
Thanks
the
for having
show.
me. It's
It was
been great.
lovely to speak with you. Where can everyone find you online, if they want to go read more about you or connect on social? Where can we find you?
Yes. Well, I'm probably similar to you. My website is more up to date. So my So I have a coaching business and it's at janegoodrich.com. And my photography business is at janegoodrichphotography.com. And if you're a photographer and you are interested in checking out our software, it's picsello.com. And
Perfect.
all the socials, pretty much the same.
Lovely. Thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you.
us. Thank you guys for tuning into this episode, and we will see you in the next one. That wraps up today's episode of The Next Brave Step. I've truly enjoyed having you join me on this journey. Here at The Next Brave Step, we don't just talk about our dreams, we take bold actions towards them every day. Stay connected by hitting that subscribe button and dive even deeper with us by becoming part of the Next Brave Step Insiders group on Facebook. Let the insights and energy from today's conversation ignite your next brave step forward. Remember, every small step is a vital part of your incredible journey. So get out there and take that next step forward. You're never alone. I'll be right here cheering you on. I'll see you in the next episode.